Are you an empath or a light worker or someone who's very energetically sensitive and you have trouble keeping energy out of your space and out of your field? Do you sometimes actually feel things come into you, into your apartment, into your body, and you just don't know how to get rid of them? This video is going to help give you a lot of insight into where these things come from, and some things at the end I will give you to do, questions you can ask to kind of troubleshoot to get to the root of where these things come from so you can release them. So stay tuned. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm a divine freedom and clarity coach. Before we get started, I just want to let you know I'm doing some more free breakthrough calls. These are amazing 30-minute calls where we go into your vision for your life, what you want to create, what's stopping you from getting it, and some steps you can take to truly step into your power and heal. There is a link pinned in the comment section below. Now, let's get started. Not everybody is super aware of energy on the planet. Someday, I think everybody will, because it's not woo-woo, it's not my opinion, it's fucking how it all works, and I have been shown this over and over and over again, and it just happened recently to me again. We are not simply physical beings. There's a whole other world going on out there, and this shit is as real as fuck, okay? When I first started getting conscious, when I first started going through my spiritual awakening, I would have these really weird situations where I would start to sense energy. I would start to sense people's energy fields. I remember there's somebody who's close to me, and it became very difficult because I could feel like the negativity from that person, and it would feel very restrictive and very harsh. And I was like, I just have to get away from this. And I felt really guilty about it, but it was really difficult. And I became very aware of these other dimensions. And then what would happen is when I first started waking up, it was like 2008, 2009, I would walk into like a supermarket, and I would walk out and I would be way worse, mentally than I was when I went in. And I could feel something like on me, like grinding down on me, and like with very negative energy, and my thoughts would get very dark. I mean, I already had, some negative thoughts of my own, but it was like the charge had increased like 1,000%. And I was like, what is going on here? And I started working with this guy who explained how these things worked. Apparently, there are things called entities. There are dark kind of forces at work in the world. But mostly what it is they're just thought forms, really. So just think of thought as like a magnetic field of energy. Like when you're thinking, you're not just thinking in your brain. There's an energetic field that goes out connected to your brain. You're an electromagnetic transmitter and receiver, and so is everybody else. Now, there are thought forms that are beyond just coming from other humans as well, but that's for another time. Anyway, these thought forms magnetically can attract to us. They can link and latch on to our energy field. And they sit in our space and influence what we think, how we feel, and even the actions we take if we don't have a clear signal, because they will start sending us like false bullshit guidance sometimes. And it can be very frustrating. I would get so infuriated when I became more aware of what was happening, and I would start screaming at them. I'd be like, get the fuck out of my space. And that's when I started having to learn like energetic hygiene, and how to do clearings in the morning, and how to do clearings at night, and how to do clearings all day long at times, and how to quantumly disentangle from people and situations and markets and anything that wasn't positive for me. Now, as my field and my energy and my body and all of it has healed and my frequency has raised, it's much, much easier for me to not be bogged down by these things, and if I do feel something, to just get rid of it really quickly. But it still can happen, and I'm going to be going through a few things that you can look at and things that you can do to help clear yourself up. But first, I need to tell a little bit more of a story. So recently, I got a little bit slimed by something. This hadn't happened in a number of years, where I felt like something in my space pulling on me. Like I couldn't, one of my triggers or senses or awarenesses that something isn't quite right is I will have trouble breathing. So I couldn't take a deep breath all night. And I'm like, what's going on? Why can't I breathe? Who am I connected to? Because sometimes even with people I know, if I don't unlink when I leave, I can start to, be carrying some of their energy if I'm not careful, even to this day, even though I'm really pretty good at this stuff now. So I was like, what is this? And I had to call one of my best friends who's, incredibly psychic and intuitive. And I kind of knew where it was coming from, and I knew kind of what it was, and I cleared most of it, but I couldn't clear quite all of it. And so we went through this whole process that I'm going to talk about in a second, that we used to clear up this sort of negative energy that had gotten into my space. And this is my point to you guys, is anytime this happens, there's always something in us that draws it in. So if you're aware of attacks and psychic attacks and all this stuff, I mean, some people aren't even aware this is a reality, but if you are, it's important to know that there's always something in you that is drawing that in. And the reason why this is so important is, one, because it's empowerment. You're not a victim to the energy around you. And two, it just really is the truth. You're magnetically attracting that on some level. Sometimes it's just because you're unconscious, because you're not in your body, like I've talked about in other videos. So if you're not in your body, something else is going to come in. But for me, this time, what this linked to was some past life contracts with particular energies, some past life contracts maybe with a couple of people. Sometimes when new people come into your life, a new soul comes into your life, you have karma with that soul from another time and another place. You might have had an agreement to help each other or exchange energy or take on energy for each other. This was all very old timeline. It's not really how it's done anymore. The old timeline was very horizontal. So that's kind of where the codependency comes from. The energy vampirism comes from. It comes from a disconnection from source. So we sort of get energy from each other. So we would have contracts sometimes like, okay, you give me this and I'll clear this for you and I'll give you my stuff. It's all a mess. We don't do that anymore. But that's how it was. And you may still have a contract with someone withstanding from before that you haven't cleared yet. And so some of the stuff gets in. But what this particular last time was for me was some contract with some being that wasn't the greatest energy in the world that I had hired or contracted with. Now, the reasons for this was sometimes, like on the old timeline, if we felt very weak and disempowered, we will contract with something that's not exactly positive because there wasn't a lot of a connection to anything positive to give us strength and power. The problem, though, is if it's not a super positive energy, it's going to end up taking your energy in return and using your vessel and draining you. But the clue to this was, the reason why I was having such a hard time clearing it was because, it sounds crazy, but past lives with, in the occult past lifetimes where, we all had them to some extent, where we studied energy, manifestation, all from the mind. And I still had some of that in my energy field and in my aura, etc. So I had to clear those. But what was linking me to this, the root of it, underneath everything, was, one, I had leveled up again. So when we level up, when we expand into bigger levels of consciousness, love, joy, we also then hit the other side of ourself that has maybe the darker polarity or is still in polarity. Now, the more you level up, the less difficult it gets, the easier it is to clear. But sometimes you will have another part or process or cycle of the same sort of lesson. The thing is, now you're much more expanded, you have much greater skills, you have much more love, it's easier to get rid of. But I had expanded and leveled up again. But on the other side of the polarity, what I had opened up was another layer of anger. And it was a very deep soul anger. And it was anger at being here. Just anger at being on Earth, at having to be human, at all of the thousands of years of fucking struggling and darkness and slavery And I was just like, I've gone through many layers of this in myself, of just this almost fury at like how fucked up this planet is, how fucked up the system is, how many lifetimes I had in the dark, struggling, trapped, not being able to get out. And that anger in me, which was then at God, because it's like, oh, I'm stuck here, so fuck God, so fuck all this stuff. Like that anger draws in that sort of energy, sort of in an external fashion that allows it to attach. So that's my point, like the crack in my energy field, the wound is what draws this stuff in. And so when I got to the level of like another layer of this really extreme anger and released it and forgave God, forgave the universe, forgave planet Earth, forgave myself for coming here, and also came again to understand on another level that even though the darkness, the dark, all the evil, it's very frustrating, it does have its place in the universe, and it was teaching me something, which was how to love myself more, how to expand more, how to strengthen my energy skills, how, if we didn't have something to push back on, there would be nothing for us to do or learn. And so as I really got to those levels and those layers and forgave and released the anger, then I was able to clear the contracts and attachments and links to this other field of energy. And then it just went away. So what can you do? So if you're aware of this stuff, and some people aren't, and if you're not, it's good to hear this because some of this is going on for everybody anyway. If you find yourself with like a negative attachment, or like you have a hard time getting rid of some energy and it keeps coming into your field, what part of you drew it in? What part of you drew it in? Okay? Is it from a particular emotion? Is it from a particular trauma? Is it from a particular wound? If you're very aware of energy, it's probably going to come from more than just this lifetime as well. So I would ask your higher self, like, where is the crack in my energy field? Where is the wound in myself that's allowing this to come into my space? Where's the belief? The belief could be like, I'm meant to save everybody and help them. And so someone has some really nasty energy, and again, you're just like, I'll take it, and that's not what we want to be doing anymore. Number two, the other question to really ask is, what lessons are you learning from this? What's the lesson? Where is the origin of this lesson? Like it could be like, I believe that I'm super weak. Maybe you felt you were really weak for a long time in many lifetimes. And so you felt in order to be strong, you needed to like expand your limits. And maybe you ended up like linking to something that wasn't purely positive because you wanted to learn strength. And maybe now you know that you actually are strong enough, and that you always were strong, and that you thought you were weak because you disconnected from source and you didn't realize like how truly strong you are all the time. And now you can let that go. And another lesson might be, again, you have a savior complex. You think you need to rescue everybody. Another lesson might be like my lesson, which was forgiveness of myself for even incarnating on earth, for even being here, forgiveness for the darkness on the planet, forgiveness for the evil on the planet, and the understanding that it does have its place and it is teaching everybody something, and that each person has their own higher self and soul and free will. And as crazy as it seems here, as awful as it seems here, they're still learning something from it, and in the end, they're all okay. And finally, you can ask, are you done with this? What are you getting out of it? How does it serve you to draw in this energy? Maybe you have sort of an addiction to fighting, and you like fighting. So you're constantly going out and drawing in things to battle with. So it's serving you by allowing you the opportunity to keep fighting. Maybe you wanted to develop your skills as a warrior. And so that energy attachment, that entity, whatever is coming into you, is offering you the opportunity to work with that in that classroom, so to speak. But maybe you don't need it anymore. So are you done learning those lessons? Are you done with it? And if you're done with it, you can thank it for everything that it's taught you, ask that it be cleared, and then finally ask for what it is that you need to learn now. Like, what is the upgrade? What is the transformation? Maybe it's that, like for me, it's getting out of duality completely, not even being in the dark and light, not even being in the, as you expand your light, you expand your dark. It's like going completely into divine neutrality where it's all one and it's all connected. And when I go more into neutrality, I won't be drawing in any of these things to fight against or clear anymore. So those are some examples of questions you can ask and perceptions you can shift to start like clearing some of these energies. So let me know if you have any further questions about this, any revelations, any breakthroughs. I always really love to hear from you. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I have an energy clearing you can download in the description below that can help a lot with clearing up some of these, things that come into your energy field in your space. Other than that, thank you so much. I look forward to next time, and peace.